welcome back. I'm Robert Cassard from GuitarDiscoveries.com. As always, I learned the hard way so you don't have to. So James Taylor taught me a lot of things about guitar and vocals, but if I had to boil it down to one, I'd say he taught me that without strumming, one guitar can accompany a singer with the variety and richness of a full band. It's a one-man band guitar style. And it isn't all that obvious on his albums because James usually has his own full band. He's got a second guitar, piano, bass, drums. But when you hear him start a song with just the guitar, or better yet, when he plays a whole solo show, you can really hear what that one guitar is doing. And it's three things at the same time: bass, rhythm, and lead licks that set up or comment on each vocal phrase. So it really is a one-man band. Stick around and let's go deeper into what James Taylor taught me. James Vernon Taylor, born March 12, 1948. He is a 6-time Grammy winner. He entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the year 2000. And you might be surprised that he's also one of the best-selling musical artists of all time, over 100 million records globally. Now, I remember vividly the first time I heard James Taylor. It's the summer of 1970. It's right around my birthday in August. I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we had a radio station that played album-oriented rock. It was WLAV. And I was listening late at night under the covers. It's well past my bedtime. I was 9 years old. So I had the radio on quietly, but I could hear the DJ talking about this new artist and this song he really liked called Fire and Rain. So that title grabbed me, but then I heard those sweet acoustic guitar notes, the slide up with the arpeggio, the slide down, and then the hammer-ons and the pull-offs, and a chord progression that sounded new and different from anything else on the radio. So even though I was listening quietly, I remember how haunting the song and the whole sound were, because it was sad, it was mellow, but it was dramatic too. And I remember especially the drums at the end. You know, it's Russ Kunkel on brushes instead of sticks, but it's really like thunder. And as soon as it was over, I couldn't wait to hear it again. So thankfully, my older brother Dave bought the album Sweet Baby James, so I did hear it again many, many times. I loved every song on that album, and I just longed to be able to play guitar like James Taylor. So back then, I was pretty much a beginner, but Sweet Baby James inspired me to start fingerpicking. So I was pretty proud when I figured out that I could alternate my thumb and index finger and thumb and middle finger to play a consistent pattern. So I was listening to a lot of folk and acoustic rock at that time. Cat Stevens, John Denver, Jim Croce, Gordon Lightfoot, a bunch of others. And those singer-songwriters were acoustic rhythm players. They weren't very technical, but each of them had a second guitarist in their band who was more technical. Someone who could play clean lead and melodic fills in just the right places. Cat Stevens had Alan Davies, John Denver had Mike Taylor, Jim Croce had Maury Muleisen, and Gordon Lightfoot had Red Shea. Most of the tasty stuff you hear on the acoustic guitars were played by those supporting guitarists, not the big name artist. And I think it's kind of sad that so many people know those guitar parts by heart, but have no idea who played them. Anyway, James Taylor was different, right? He could do it all himself, one-man band. So he was doing three things at the same time. He played bass with his thumb, rhythm, sometimes strummed, but usually picked with multiple fingers at the same time, and then lead licks between each vocal phrase. obviously what James was doing was more than basic finger picking, but I was going to figure it out and learn it note for note because I just loved it. So in 1971, I got my hands on a double bootleg LP. It was called Isn't It Nice to Be Home Again? And I remember it was on Rubber Dubber Records, but I don't really remember how I got it. It was probably on a summer trip to New York City. I'm guessing in an obscure record shop somewhere. Anyway, it was a pirated balcony recording from one of James's shows at the Anaheim Convention Center in early 1971. So that was just before the release of Mudslide Slim. And that concert was really similar to the solo BBC and concert video from that same time period. You can check that out on James's own YouTube channel. Look for BBC in concert. So when I listened to my Rubber Dubber bootleg, I could hear all the details of what JT's guitar was doing all the way through each song. And it was obviously more sophisticated than the strummers and the traditional finger pickers, because James brought in quite a few non-folk chords, especially major sevenths and minor sevenths and diminished chords and augmented chords. So it all tipped into jazz a bit. And that became more and more true as he evolved on albums like Walking Man and Gorilla and In the Pocket. But it was always his own style. I mean, no other guitarist sounded like JT. Although I guess the only possible exception to that would be Livingston Taylor, James's younger brother by a couple of years. Because if you do listen to Livingston, like listen to his first album, you'll wonder who came up with what riffs. Because, I mean, I guess James and Liv not only share physical DNA, they also share a lot of musical DNA. But ultimately, Liv plays as subtly and beautifully as James. I mean, it's similar style, finesse, originality, chords, all great stuff. So I guess I loved the Taylor family guitar style, but I spent a lot of time learning James's songs and eventually way more time playing those songs in restaurants and coffee houses. So once you get the way James plays and it becomes second nature, you realize that his way of breaking apart a guitar accompaniment actually makes playing the guitar a lot of fun. Your left-hand fingers get to dance around each chord, a lot of suspended notes, hammer-ons, pull-offs, and then leading tones. And your right hand usually gets to play bass, rhythm and lead, usually syncopated. Anyway, I don't just like singing JT songs, I like playing those guitar parts because what started as a major challenge for me eventually just became a blast. So not only do those guitar parts sound great, they're all really playful. They're actually so much fun that I ended up with 35 JT songs in my coffee house repertoire. And that was from the big hits way down into the deep cuts. just a word I've heard when things are being said. Stories my poor head has told me that cannot stand the cold. And in between what might have been and what has come to pass, a misbegotten guess, alas, and bits of broken glass. Where did those golden rainbows end? Why is this song so sad? I'm dreaming the dreams I've dreamed, my friend. Loving the love I love, to love, to love, to love. Played most of these songs in, probably 25 years, but they're all coming right back to me, Do believe I'm gonna clap my hands. I think I might tap my feet. Put together a one-man band, take it walking all down the street. Have a one-man parade, and nobody needs to know, 'cause I'm right good at holding on to secrets I don't believe they show. Make my bed out of wonder red, spread some mustard upon my head. Don't want no onions, sauerkraut, mama. Hold my bun, work it on out. I'm a chili dog. I guess you guessed by now, yeah. Sure enough, I'm a chili dog, yeah. Talking about so delicious, good for you too. I also learned drop D from James, like. It's just fun to play. So what James Taylor taught me. First, to use an acoustic guitar to play multiple roles when supporting a singer, bass, rhythm, and lead. In other words, he taught me to break the rules of standard folk finger picking, but in a really musical way. His songs taught me that sadness and humor are both powerful emotions, and not to hide them. His vocal harmonies really inspired me because he often multi-tracked his own voice, which I started to mess with as soon as I had a multi-track recorder. So songs like You Can Close Your Eyes and the greatest hits versions of Something in the Way She Moves and Carolina in My Mind, his harmonies are just perfect for each song. James also taught me to venture beyond standard folk chords and progressions, to use those major and minor sevenths, the diminished and augmented chords, and that really had a big impact on my early attempts at songwriting. I actually hear a lot of James's influence in the vocal and guitar parts on my first album called Over the Line. I produced it with my friend Randy Albert, and it came out the summer after my freshman year of college, 1980. So Over the Line is all original songs, all acoustic, recorded on 4 Humble tracks. And those songs were written in the mid to late 70s while I was in high school and early college. And I actually still like them, so I hope you'll check it out. I actually had the album remastered a few years ago by Andrew Bush from Grandma's Warehouse in LA, and you can find it on Spotify and Apple Music. When I finally leave the city behind, the lines in the mirror. Now, Over the Line just wouldn't be what it is without the influence and inspiration of JT. So, thank you, James Taylor, for being one of my most important teachers and for being such a creative and innovative guitarist, singer, and songwriter. Should I or shouldn't I? I'm thinking about expanding this What I Learned topic into a series featuring my favorite artists and the key lessons and techniques that each of them taught me. So if you like this video and you want me to explore other musicians, please like the video, Make sure you're subscribed and definitely leave a comment. Tell me about your favorite artists. Let me know if What I Learned from So-and-so series is something you guys would come back for. All right, please also visit guitardiscoveries.com for almost 200 videos about guitar, singing, songwriting, and lots of other musical topics. My Patreon link is over there, and I really appreciate all your support. Most of all, keep playing and discovering. See you next time, like right now.